guys, it's Jackie from Homeschool Hangout and the Nerd Family, and today we're going to talk a little bit about creating learners in your home and the honest truth about how we've created the nerds and learners in our family. And I don't think it's the way people expect. If you like these kind of just vloggy kind of talking videos, do me a favor and give this a thumbs up and subscribe, and I'll know to make more videos like this. But let's get into this. So this video is kind of actually inspired both by the questions more comments than questions that I receive still about the fact that I have kids who love to learn things and who are huge nerds in my home. And the fact that I wrote an article about this many years ago, I mean like 2010, on Nerd Family, and I believe I called it An Era of Book Learning. Just how I created nerds. And that's what my kids are. Let's just be honest, they're nerds. They had it in their DNA, but that's not all there is to it. We've tried to create an environment in our home of learning. Now, some people assume that my children do a lot of school, or that I do drills, or that I do things like that. Let me make a confession. Don't tell anybody, don't tell like the school systems, but you know, I kind of don't do all that much school with my children. Yes, they're in physics class. My 14-year-old's in a physics class. They're in science classes. They're in choirs. They do math like every day of their life because, I mean, come on, it's math. You do math. Okay, I do math. I love math. You do math. But as far as like history and English and political science and all that stuff, we don't do a lot of curriculum stuff. We're starting to do more because we have 2 high schoolers and they need something for their transcripts. But even in that, we don't do a ton. We read and we play Jeopardy and we talk. Oh my gosh, there's so much talking. The children talk so much. I'm sorry, I just got distracted there. There's just so much talking with 4 children, at least with these 4 children. But a big part was when we taught them how to read, that was our first goal with school. I always say kindergarten, first grade, teach them what their numbers are, teach them how to read. I don't do anything else. Seriously, I didn't really do anything else. I got those kindergarten, first grade workbooks from Target where they practice writing their letters. And we do science because science is fun, not because science is homework. You know, ooh, that's cool. You want to make things do that? Awesome. I have magnetic putty on my desk. I do not have magnetic putty on my desk as a science lesson for my children. I have it because I play with it when I get bored. That's how we approach science when you're little. Reading, reading, reading. And we do a lot of education through their reading as they grow up. Meaning we go to the library and it is not uncommon for us to probably have 75 library books in our home. Now, for those of you who are having a heart attack over there, we keep track of them on the computer. There's an app. My husband's written a little, not an app, but a script that reports everything that's due every week. And we always go the same day of the week. And we have 6 cards between us. So 75 books is not that many. Relax, people. But in those books, yes, one of the big things to create readers we did is we let them read anything. And when I say anything, we keep it age appropriate. But we don't say you just need to read proper literature. Oh, that is not literature, that is drivel. Unless it's because it's going to teach them bad habits. I say this because there's some books that we did not want to help create our snotty children. They're plenty snotty on their own. We said no to those, but they read graphic novels. They read Thundercats. I don't know. I didn't read it. I have no interest. They read so many random things that don't necessarily educate. But sprinkled into that, we've always made sure they get a decent amount of nonfiction books too. You know, as they've gotten older, All Quiet on the Western Front goes into the mix. You know, Pride and Prejudice start really young in the mix because I really like those movies. And so we watch the movies, they read the books afterwards. But we, you know, you're not too old for a nap. You're never too old for a nap. I could use a nap right now. But you're too old to make nap. You still had quiet time in your room and you would read. And I say that as in like when we moved into the current house we're in, I think my oldest was 12, 13. And that's when we stopped afternoon room time. Seriously. They'd go to their room and they'd read. And they'd read everything. I'd make sure there's good science books. I'd make sure there's some good easy history books. I'd make sure that they have a well-round there. And that is what I would say is the number one fact to creating nerdy children and children who like to learn, because learning isn't hard. My husband and I really became much more relaxed about the whole idea of curriculum and making sure they had lots of history books and everything. When we had the conversation, made the realization that the majority of the trivia that he and I both know, and random historical facts, and for those of you who've ever talked to us, we love our trivia and random useless facts. He knows more than me. I openly and honestly admit that. We learned all that outside of school. We didn't really learn a lot of that in school. We learned it by all the books we picked up to read. We would be hanging out in libraries and we would pick up history books. We would pick up so many different types of books. I loved hanging out in the Fresno State Library when I was a kid and reading so much, mostly history. I loved history growing up, but political science, everything. And that, I would say, passing that on and making that realization that the majority of learning doesn't necessarily happen in your 12 years of school, or even when you're in school. It didn't even happen as part of my actual curriculum. Really freed me up to focus on creating an environment of learning in my household. We watched Jeopardy together. We watched The Chase on Netflix. Watch The Chase. Lots of trivia questions. Very fast paced. But it's pop culture and it's nerdy facts. And it makes life interesting. It causes great conversations, especially when you have introverts who don't like small talk. It gives you something to talk about with people, randomness. But that would be the number one thing I would say to create children who love to learn is don't make it work all the time. Create it in such a way that they are just reading to relax, escape life. You quiz together. It doesn't matter who gets the question. It matters how many of you knew it and blurted it out. My children, we celebrated when they got their first Final Jeopardy question. You know, I have to say there was a category last week all about planets, and my 12-year-old wiped the floor with me. It was great. I loved it. Causing that causes great conversations, causes you to go look for more books in the library. Making learning fun is what creates the nerds who go on and decide to do great things. Relax, mom and dad. Relax, grandparents who are quizzing them. Create an environment where you engage your children intellectually and you make it fun. That's how I made readers. That's how I made nerds. Now we'll see if they ever do anything productive with their lives. That's an entirely different subject, and we will discuss that later. I have a junior in high school. I don't know how things are going to go. But as far as knowing random facts, he is on point. And understanding how those random facts work together is education. And that is the fun part. Doing that work that I never saw in school, where you know 10 random history facts, but how do they connect? To the point that we got really odd looks the other day. I had to take the 16-year-old to the doctor, and he's reading a book on Punic Wars, because I find the Punic Wars interesting, but don't know enough facts about them. And he admits it's a hard book to read, and I'm kind of making him. He's almost 17. It's time to make him read things. But we were talking about how the Punic Wars and the Peloponnesian Wars and how all of that works together, how the Old Testament and Daniel, and how Alexander the Great, the one thing he wanted to conquer was Persia. Those lines going together were never taught to me in school. But because we've encouraged such a trivia-based household, we now take all those little bits and are tying them together and seeing how the world is moved. It's not hard. You don't need to know it to talk to your kids about it. You just need to encourage them to learn it, to tell you about it. You can do this. I promise you can do this. It is not that hard. It is not that bad. Just clothe it in a lot of prayer, advice, reading, lots of reading. No, mostly for them. They do more reading. I haven't read a real book in a while. I haven't had time. But you can do this. Do you have nerdy kids? What did you do to create nerdy kids? Are you the parents who code with them? We're kind of those parents too. Are you the parents who are the sports parents? Let me know down in the comments below and let's start a conversation. Let me know your challenges in homeschooling and maybe I'll make a video just for you. Have a great day. Bye.